and welcome all of you to the presenter showcase of early spring that we have decided to do. And I want to particularly thank and appreciate Carrie Lumen, my assistant, who has pulled all of this together beautifully, and all of the presenters that are making it happen. I just wanted to let you know that we are still continuing to celebrate the food businesses that we have worked with for 10 years who have managed to meet their stride and meet the changes of the pandemic and make changes that have served them well and served our communities well. And while there has not been as much activity with new businesses, needless to say, in the thick of it, with spring and new life, new growth, there are new things happening, and there are businesses that have been in existence that are moving into new phases of their growth. So we wanted to give you a taste of that, and not just a taste of the businesses, but a taste of the needs for food security that continue to be prominent in our state and elsewhere, and introduce you to a new group of gleaners in the Mid-Coast area. So again, we're going to do a mix of familiar and new and different sectors of our very rich and fully textured food system. And with that, I'm going to move into the presenters. And we're going to start with Joel Alex of Blue Ox Malthouse, with whom Slow Money Maine has worked probably since the very beginning. And Joel will give us some history and move us up to current status.
Yeah, thank you, Bonnie. I'm really glad to be back connecting with this community again. It was actually, I think, 8 years ago coming on that I first presented to this group with not a business plan, but certainly not a very developed business plan in retrospect. It is definitely 100% true, and I'm incredibly grateful to this network, which has connected me with mentors and partners and investors, and with grants, and personally and professionally really made this Blue Ox Malthouse possible. I guess just like a very brief history, and I'll address a lot of anything specific in questions. But after building out our facility in 2015, 2013 I started working on this. 2015, with help from So Money Maine, MTI, and others, we were able to build out our current facility in Lisbon Falls, Maine. There's a lot to cover here, but it basically took us 4 years after that commercialization in late 2015 to become a profitable business, which was certainly challenging. But each year we are seeing a doubling to double-digit growth in year-over-year gross revenues, and our losses were fortunately diminishing, and that was the encouraging part of those 4 years. Cumulatively, to date, we've moved over 2 million pounds of raw Maine grains into the craft beverage market, and worked with coming up to 200 customers around Maine, New England, and really the whole United States. It definitely was challenging as entrepreneur, managing that kind of growth and keeping up with it. We had had over 17 employees in the last 18 years, and physically and emotionally went through quite a lot as I made it through there. But in 2019 was a turnaround year for us, and we saw profitability and really were able to have a great year, which is really fortunate for us. because we today have 7 employees. If you include myself, the full-time employees all have healthcare, and there's 5 of us, and then we have 2 part-time. We've worked with over a dozen farms to date, and currently in 2019 and sort of jumpingly through 2020, worked with 4 to 5 farms. And even last year, we're still able to work with around 60 or 70 customers in the state. At this time last year, our sales were up 50% year over year, but then of course the pandemic hit. We went into conserving cash mode, and we were in the process of doing a bunch of growth projects. We put all of those on hold, and took advantage of the federal and state aid. So we made it through last year, I would say relatively well off. We were down year over year sales just 11%, which could have been a lot worse. And we've really we were able to keep all our employees paid and employed throughout the whole entire year, and that was despite taking some breaks from production and lowering our production capacity by being really flexible, dynamic. So today I'm actually, just as with many of the brewing customers that we service, really optimistic that we'll be able to see a bounce back to, as things open up, to kind of a new normal, but really return to that growth that we were seeing prior to the pandemic slowdown last week. We've and I feel really optimistic and 100% believe that we're coming out of this year overall stronger as a company, and really we're able to refocus on our mission and reconnect to who we are as a company, train employees, do some really deep dive assessments. We're currently involved in the MCE's cultivator program, which has been really helpful, and we've been undertaking some other process improvements as we look to grow our current system about 20% by reinvesting. To move on to kind of where we're going, I think we're making a lot of really great progress. I would say that our biggest challenges remain supply and location and capital. So as mentioned before, as mentioned, maybe did I mention it, that it was basically a really bad grain growing year last year. So we got a bad grain growing year and a pandemic. On the conventional side, we've really been able to work with our farmer to get a solution through to the next harvest. But the organic grain is my biggest concern for us long term. We've seen increasing demand from brewers for organic products, even as we've seen the farmers willing to grow organic grains at all, much less malting grains, which are harder to grow than just normal food grade grains, going down. And at this moment, there's actually there's nobody who can grow organic grain for us internally. So we're actually having to regionally source that. In response, we're pursuing several projects and avenues to try to look at how we might be able to get more involved in the organic side and look at different models for contracting for organic, as well as getting our hands dirty and trying to really understand how we can support growers being successful there. The secondary challenge I would say is that even though we're making some improvements that will allow us to get up to 20% capacity increase, as we expect growth to resume, we're probably looking at needing a new facility in the next 5 to 10 years. And sort of related to that is it's still a very capital intensive hurdle for us to think about looking at a new facility. And what I've definitely learned is that networks like these are so important, because the timeline for that return is definitely not what you'd see in a conventional in a conventional lender being able to accept. So there are definitely some challenges, but I think I'm gonna definitely over time. So I'm gonna leave it there and look forward to questions. I had some pictures, but I couldn't do both. so I can definitely share some pictures later and answer questions later as they come up. But thank you so much, everybody, and look forward to them.
Thanks so much, Joel. And Joel reminded me that I didn't mention to everyone that we are saving questions until the end. And so take notes, mental or written, as you're listening and watching, and save them for the end after all of our presenters present.
And people can also, Bonnie, add those into the chat if they want to, just so you don't forget your questions. Feel free to jot them down in the chat.
And Carrie is also available in the chat if you're having any tech issues. And I think we'll proceed to Nick Jackson from Jackson Regenerational Farm. Welcome, Nick.
Thank you. Just want to say thank you for everyone who's here listening, and thank you to Bonnie and Carrie for organizing this and all the work you do with Slow Money Maine. I'm the farmer at Jackson Regenerational Farm. My wife, Sarah, and I, we are partners in this operation. We really believe that the business really belongs to our children, and until they tell us otherwise, we are really focused on getting this profitable business going for them to inherit. We are focused on building soil and increasing biodiversity, not just on our farm, but regionally as well. We are focused on long-term dependability, resilience, and profitability. In order to build soil and increase biodiversity, we do this by raising regeneratively pastured lamb, chickens for both meat and eggs. We also do a residential compost pickup, and we have a few commercial customers as well. So I deliver eggs to people's front doors and pick up their food scraps at the same time. And it's been growing. We've added a new customer about every week or so. We are doing this in both Bangor and Belfast. On our farm, we tell ourselves every day that life is getting better and better. And that to us is the meaning of regenerative agriculture, because life is biology, and we are focused on increasing biology, increasing biodiversity, increasing the living organisms in the soil. So, but it carries through in so many other ways. Life just keeps getting better and better. The other thing we always tell ourselves is that we have everything we need to do what we need to do. And that goes as far as time and money and resources. Whenever we start to feel like we don't have enough of one of those things, we just remember to tell ourselves we have everything we need to do what we need to do. Real brief, like a long time ago, I was, as a young person, I was really focused on the problems of the world, and I could see all the things I was against. And I was very involved in protesting and organizing protests, and I was vegan and vegetarian at different times unsuccessfully. I believed in composting. I eventually got a permaculture design certificate, which led me to working at Vermont Compost Company, which was an amazing experience. I was the manager there for 4 years. And after a while, we felt like we needed to leave there and move home and start our own farm. Really looking for some, well, we wanted to be our own farmers and be our own, live our own dreams, but there was something that didn't sit well with us with the commercial composting as a solution to food waste as a problem. Um, we thought we were going to grow perennial vegetables and trees. We thought, we were really convinced that that was the business model that we wanted to pursue when we started Jackson Regenerational Farm. We knew we thought we were going to start by growing annual vegetables, and we started looking at the cost of compost and the other costs to get started. And I was pretty focused on wanting to make our own compost. And so then it started to be like, where we're going to get the manure. And we were already raising some meat birds for ourselves and chicken, egg layers for ourselves. And we ended up dropping the whole concept of raising vegetables and raising trees, and really started focusing on the animal side of things. And that's where we've really led to today, is that we're really noticing the positive potential of livestock and how properly managed livestock in our agricultural landscape can increase biodiversity and build soil. Last season, we started the season really trying to focus on extending our grazing season by moving the animals quickly and focusing on the sheep just taking one bite of each plant, so that what we're trying to do is stockpile forage for coming back and letting the plant recover quickly. The unintended consequence of all of this was that when the drought hit, we were practically unaffected. Our pastures stayed green and in a state of regrowth for the whole season. Let me just switch to some photos here. Let's see. So everyone can see those. So this is our sheep on pasture, and some things went to seed, as you can see in this photo.
Nick, we can't
We
see
can't
the
see
photo.
them.
Oh no. Okay, well, let's fix that. I didn't hit the button on the Zoom thing. Thanks.
And you are almost out of time. Just wanted to
Okay.
let you know. Just take
Great.
a couple more minutes to share photos and.
Here we go. There. So these are dandelions. They were in, this is late October, early November. This is what our pastures look like. We grazed until December, and our pastures were green and in a state of regrowth through the drought because of the way we were managing our livestock. We got no more rain than anyone else did. But since we were practicing regenerative grazing, this was the outcome that we had. Let's see, there's this sheep. Some things went to seed, some of the things that the sheep didn't eat. Here's our flock. We move the chickens every few days. They're part of the system. They follow the sheep. There's more dandelions. These are like November dandelions. And they weren't just isolated dandelions. These were all over the field. There were hundreds of them. And so on warm days, the bees would come out and have something to eat. So just leave that. How do I get back to Zoom? Here we go. So we have the opportunity here in Atkinson to scale this, and we want to raise, we would like to build our own USDA processing facility and be able to walk our sheep from pasture into the slaughter facility. And we hope to actually invite other farms who are raising grain, vegetables, orchardists who would like to have the benefit of keeping sheep on their farms, who want to reduce costs of mowing or herbicide, or dairy farmers, if they kept sheep with their herds, they could reduce the cost of dewormer. And we would be available to buy in their ram lambs and help for the facilitation of the sale of their ewe lambs, so that they could have a profitable sheep enterprise alongside their orchard or their vegetables or whatever their primary crops are. And we have enough land here in Atkinson to finish thousands of lamb. So we have high hopes and impossible goals, and we're really trying to work on figuring those out. So, thanks.
So much.
Thank you so much.
Very inspiring. Okay, we're going to keep moving along to Jen Levin with Gulf of Maine Sashimi.
Hello, thank you so much for inviting me to join this group today. I will set my timer. There we go. I do have some slides to share just to help guide me through some points. So let me get those up. Don't worry, you'll see something in a second.
You're doing great.
There we go. You can all see that? Great. So Gulf of Maine Sashimi is a seafood company headquartered in Portland, Maine. And it was it started in June of 2019, really coming out of my work running the Sustainable Seafood Program at the Gulf of Maine Research Institute. And I've been working with fishermen in the seafood industry for the last 16 years and saw some real issues that I thought we could fix in our seafood supply chain. So first, to sort of describe the problem. We import over 90% of the seafood we consume here in the United States. And meanwhile, last year, we harvested just 17% of our sustainable fish stocks in the Gulf of Maine region. And this low harvest is largely driven by really low prices that fishermen get paid for their catch. So meanwhile, in addition to importing large volumes of tuna, salmon, haddock, and cod from other countries, we're also importing the best, most expensive, most pristine fish that commands really high prices right here in the United States. We were not tapping into those markets because this is how we typically handle our fish. And so you can see the fisherman is stepping on his catch, he's gaffing the fish, tossing them. They're often bruised. There's very little evidence of ice to maintain cold temperatures. And this is a vicious cycle whereby fishermen get paid so little for their catch. There's no incentive to handle their fish properly and get into that higher end market. And talking with fishermen over the years, they've said, you know what, I've tried things, I've tried icing, I've tried boxing, but I come in to shore and I get the same price everybody else gets. So what we saw was an untapped opportunity to build a business that rewards fishermen for really high quality handling and markets their catch to discerning buyers across the country. So we decided we could fix this problem. And so we pay fishermen premium prices for their catch in exchange for specified handling practices. And then we market that catch to those buyers across the country. Pre-COVID, we were 100% wholesale. So we sold directly to chefs and then to distributors who sold to chefs. And we lost 100% of our customer base in mid-March of last year. So we've transitioned and we're now selling direct to consumer as well. So here's some visuals of what this looks like. So here's the fish on board the vessel. They've been flurried, and so our fish, most of our fish are killed according to the Japanese tradition of ikujime. They're bled. These practices result in literally a chemically superior product that lasts longer, it tastes better, it has a better texture, and then we buy that directly from the boat. Again, we pay them guaranteed premium prices for that extra effort. And we process them in our FDA inspected facility right here on the Portland waterfront. Before COVID, we were doing primarily whole fish, shipping out across the country. And now we do quite a bit of filleting product as well. So it's been a tough year, but I'm happy to say that we were able to actually add staff because it's a lot more labor intensive work. And then we sell that to chefs all over the country and to home cooks as well. This is what it looks like. We do whole fresh, we do fillets. We have a super freezing technology here in our facility that allows us to freeze fish really, really fast for perfect preservation. So we maintain that product quality. What that allows us to do is to buy more of a fisherman's catch. When you're seeing a lot of something, even if we're not sure, we can sell it right away. So we've got, and even our high-end chefs are now bringing in our frozen products because they found that the quality standard is still there. I'll add that we're revamping our website right now. We're actually doing a whole relaunch, and that will allow us to do shipping to consumers from our website. But right now we're selling locally to communities. We have pickup locations in Arundel, Portland, Brunswick, Buxton, and I feel like I'm forgetting one. But you can go to our website and order fish for pickup tomorrow or Friday, even this week. And ultimately, so over the last year and a half, I did some math, and I can tell you that we paid overall 50% more to fishermen than what they would have gotten in a more traditional market, so at the auction. And a lot of our boats are actually fishing only because we are here to purchase their catch. And so we're looking forward to seeing the kind of impact we can have on the amount of fish that we harvest and overall economic impact, and providing healthy local seafood, both right here in Maine and the region and across the country. And, you know, kind of filling in a little bit where we've established quite a dependence on imported fish. We are around right now doing some fundraising to help us scale the operation. We're really proud of what we've accomplished in the last 20 months and feel like we've proven this model that we can get the fish and the quality that we need, that our buyers are willing and able to pay for that extra quality. And now we're in a scaling mode, looking to grow even more over the next couple of years. That's it. I did go over a little bit of time. Sorry about that.
Bonnie, you're muted. So if you're introducing the next person, we can't hear you.
Okay, I just wanted to remind those who have presented already to put their contact info in the chat so that people can follow up if they'd like to learn more and get engaged. Okay, we're going to move to two different efforts in working with food security issues. And Erica, why don't you take it away now with Veggies to Table?
Okay, great. Thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. I've been coming to Slow Money Maine for many, many years. And as Bonnie knows, the idea for Veggies to Table came at a Slow Money Maine meeting in January of 2019. So I'm going to show you a bunch of slides and tell you who we are, why Veggies to Table, what our goals are, what we've achieved, our plans for the season, and how, if you're interested, you can get involved. So I'm going to share my screen because that's going to prompt me along. Let's see. Let me know, does this work I hope this works for everyone. So we are a Grow to Donate farm in Newcastle, Maine. Newcastle is about an hour north of Portland and 45 minutes south of Camden. We're right on the ocean. Our mission, which is even more vital now with COVID, is to grow beautiful organic produce and flowers that we donate to local people who are food insecure. And we create lasting connections in our community and beyond with our volunteer program. And we provide education around healthy food and sustainable living. With COVID, this is our third season. This will be our third season. So we had a normal first season. Last year was crazy with COVID, but even with COVID, we had so many volunteers on the farm who were safe, and we connected with them. And it was really beautiful and meaningful. And also more and more people want to learn how to grow their own food and that they can grow their own food. And unfortunately, more and more people are food insecure. So what we're doing has become even more vital. Just a little bit about me and my husband, who I founded Veggies to Table with. I'm from Massachusetts, and I lived in Paris, France for 20 years. And we moved to Maine, it'll be 9 years this summer. 9 years ago this summer, and we found this beautiful piece of land and built a house, and we wanted to do something meaningful to our soul and also to give back to our community. And actually through being involved with the local gleaning group, and just when we realized how bad it was in Maine, how many people do not have enough food to eat every day. We love food, we cook a lot of food, it was heartbreaking when you know that there's a population of 1.3 million people in Maine, and over 210,000 people go hungry daily, and 43% of students apparently rely on school meals as their main source of food. It's heartbreaking. And the statistic of the 79% of people have to purchase an expensive, unhealthy food so that they don't have an empty stomach. That's why we're doing what we do. We donate our food to local pantries, summer lunch programs, after-school programs at the Y, schools, preschools, sharing tables in conjunction with the Lincoln County Gleaners, which are tables where they place food and anyone can come and get that food with no stigma. It's usually in front of a thrift shop or a library, somewhere where people will find the food. To low-income housing. We also have 2 places that cook our food. Rising Tide, our local co-op, along with other food, they cook our food and distribute it to pantries so people have full meals as well as fresh produce. And the Lincoln County Food Initiative, which actually cooks our food and other food and delivers it directly to people who have transportation problems. So we also, when we can, we just donate directly to families when we identify families in need. Just a few things about us. We became a 501c3 in June of 2019. In our first 2 seasons, we gave away over 15,000 pounds of food. Last season, it was over 11,000, which is almost 13,000 meals. And we also believe that if you don't have money for food, you probably don't have money for flowers, and we love to donate flowers. We have donated so many bouquets of flowers around the community and to pantries to create joy and food for the soul. We also really want to show what we can grow in this climate and how diverse it can be. If we're going to grow carrots, we're going to grow colored carrots and colored tomatoes and celeriac and daikon radishes and watermelon radishes and so many different beautiful things that can be grown here, along with corn and peas and peppers and many normal beautiful things. And we really want to show all of what is possible here. And we do this with a no-till growing method so that we keep healthy soil. We plan to expand this year to meet the increased demand, and we are building a cold storage unit. We got a grant from No Kid Hungry and a private donor so that we can store food and distribute it when times are leaner. And we're trying to raise money for a greenhouse so that we can expand our season and also start our seedlings, because right now we're under grow lights in our house, which is a little bit limiting. This season we have some fun projects and events planned, nothing live, but we're hoping to have a supper club online with speakers around healthy food, sustainable living, gardening, chickens. We're gonna have a foraging class in the woods, actually, that will be live behind our house with an expert forager. We have created a flower CSA herbs, soap, and merchandise to raise money for the farm. And we hope we're going to be doing a big sweepstakes, which will be the big prize will be a week in Paris with the Paris connection I have, and lots of fun prizes around that. That's coming soon. We would love for you to, visit us on the farm, sign up for our newsletter, connect with us. I love to show people the farm and talk about the farm. I'll put all my contacts in Facebook, in the chat. We have Facebook and Instagram and a website and all of that. And I look forward to any questions anyone might have. Thanks so much. And I will stop sharing.
Lorraine, you are mute. Oh no, okay.
I should be unmuted now.
Okay. Welcome. I think Bonnie was going to introduce you, but she was on mute, so maybe she didn't do that.
Oh, okay, hold on. Trying to get my slides up.
All right. Go right ahead, Lorraine.
All
Tell us
right,
all about
okay.
yourself.
Jump in, Lorraine.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you for inviting me to come here today. I, like Erica, was at that same gleaning meeting over in Gardner in 2019, and that was where I met all of people that I've come to know and collaborate with about gleaning over the last 3 years. So, so this is myself and Nancy Wood, our Knox County Gleaners leadership team. We are all volunteer, and Nancy is the Knox County the SNAP educator. She's a chef, our food safety expert, and of course nutrition. I'm a program director at Penquist CAP. I have 2 programs, AmeriCorps Senior, which is senior volunteers in food pantries, and Knox County Gleaners. I'm also on the Knox County Food Council. I'm on the steering committee there, and I do I facilitate the meetings that happen. So we're in our 3rd year, starting our 3rd year, just like Erica. And this is our last year of a grant. We have a very generous grant from the Harvard Pilgrim Foundation. And our mission is more fresh food into more people's hands. And this last year, 2020, we were very pleased to be able to put 19,208 pounds of vegetables into 18 locations. And that included our food pantries, our soup kitchen, St. Bernard's in Rockland, but also we did senior housing. We worked with Sussman House, the hospice at Penn Bay, Knox County Clinic, some share tables. It was just a nice variety of places, and we're looking to do even more in the next year. So this is delivering the squash. We partner with Erickson Fields, who is a Mainers Feeding Mainers farm. And that's where actually we do most of our gleaning. This year, out of that 19,000, 12,993 pounds were from Erickson Fields. And we're there once or twice a week, depending on what the growing season looks like. And we have one other farm out in Union, Sandy DeFelici farm, and we also work with them on delivering to some of the smaller pantries. They do Washington, Union, and Warren pantries, where they deliver beautiful fresh vegetables. We've also partnered with some of the smaller farms, Spear Spring over in the Warren area, Hatchet Cove over in Waldoboro. And this year, interestingly enough, we had a lot of smaller farms that had, just an overabundance, and some backyard farmers. And because of COVID, a lot of people did victory gardens, and we were the beneficiary of a lot of vegetables that were grown in people's backyards. And we really enjoyed that. We met a lot of people. It was great outreach for us, and it was great exposure to food insecurity in Knox County. And this delivery actually is taking place at AIO. That's where our root cellar is that we have. So this year we did a lot of fun, kind of out of the box gleans. This is a blueberry field out in Union. And a farmer contacted us. He has a lot of huge rocks, as most blueberry fields do these days. and a USDA grant to remove the rocks, but it won't be for a couple of years. And so he offered it up to us to go out and glean. And so we had purchased blueberry rakes because we thought we might have an opportunity out on Islesboro the year before. So we had a crew. This is only 4 of our crew that went out and gleaned for about 3 hours, which if you've ever raked blueberries, that's actually quite a long time. Got about 70 pounds of blueberries out of it. And then one of our collaborations was with the Lincoln County Gleaners, and they went out on a separate day and they also gleaned, which was great. We did apple droppings, which was fun. Just on Facebook, you know, people, we have apples, you know, falling off the trees, come and get them. And we connected with those people. We made cider and handed that out at the food pantries. And we also did vinegar. So that was kind of fun. So, you know, collaborations have been huge, especially during COVID. And Lincoln County Gleaners, like I said, we gleaned with them. Merry Meeting Gleaners, we did a big, huge cabbage glean, which we were able to share in the wealth there. And we've also worked with them with their processing, because in Knox County, to date, we didn't have any processing facility. And that's really a great thing. We have a great little group here right along the coast, and we all talk and we all collaborate together. The wave of the future is actually for food pantries is having ready to heat and eat meals. It's, you know, having processed foods when we get an overabundance of tomatoes to be able to turn that into sauce that people can use, or pumpkins, which is pretty common. And the meals right now, the Cooking for Community meals, they're being handed out in at AIO in Rockland. And that's something that we hope that we might be able to get into too. Everyone loves them. It's such a huge treat to get a meal that is ready-made to be able to take home, especially if it's been created by some of our great chefs in the Rockland area. And that's something that Carrie Alterio at Cafe Miranda has been heading up. So, so we've been kind of working with them, trying to figure out how that's something that we might be able to carry on when they are not, and they are busy. And in that spirit, we're very excited to announce that the Come Spring Pantry out in Union has purchased a new building. And through Knox County Gleaners and our Harvard Pilgrim Grant, we're going to be able to put a commercial kitchen in their facility so that we can use it for processing. We have bought some equipment that we're going to have there, and also be able to do some classes teaching there. It has the space is beautiful. It's a beautiful kitchen area that's going to be built out. And then there's also a space for a classroom. So excited about that. You know, Western Knox County is an underserved area. A lot of people don't travel that live in Union to Rockland. And so we're just very excited to be able to do that. Oops, wrong way. So this is our root cellar. This was our first year project with Harvard Pilgrim. And this is at the new AIO food pantry down in Rockland. And we did a collaboration with them and put this on their property. We expected that, you know, during the growing season, it would be great that we'd be able to, you know, hold vegetables and get them out to our pantries and recipients in a nice, fresh manner. And it has been amazing. We just love, you know, being able to use it. What was unexpected was outside the growing season, we kept squash and carrots through December, that we were able to give people fresh vegetables for their holiday meals. And then we've also kept the Farmers to Families boxes in there, and potatoes through the whole winter. So it's been a great facility. And the other part of my exciting news about Union is that we're going to be placing a second container on the property out in Union, so that there'll be storage out in Western Knox County. That is the #1 problem right now with food pantries, is they don't have enough storage and enough storage for fresh. And that's that trend that we want to feed people more nutritious, fresh foods, but we have to develop the storage. So we're really excited that we're going to be able to provide that with our Harvard Pilgrim grant. So we're just looking forward to this growing and gleaning season and what it's going to bring, and some new things for Western Knox, and hopefully we'll be out in the fields soon. So thank you.
Thank you so much. And if you haven't already, Lorraine, please put your contact information in the chat. so
I will do
people
that.
Can reach
Thank
you by email or phone. Thank you all. That was a very richly textured set of offerings. So we'll open it up now to participants asking questions. And we just invite you to do that informally when you're ready. I guess I'll start with you, Lorraine. As somebody that works with funding needs for endeavors, and you being a nonprofit, you're able to talk more freely about your funding needs in this gathering. You said that this is the last year of your very generous grant from Harvard Pilgrim. What do you have lined up as you expand your ideas and the needs are clear for help?
Well, that's a really interesting question. And right now, I guess that's the $1 million question that we're working on, is to see where we are going to go. We've grown Knox County Gleaners from that 2019 meeting when I had no idea really what we were getting into. We're looking at where we're going. Harvard Pilgrim has been extremely generous. Whether the grant was $25,000 a year each year for 3 years, and it was wonderful because it gave us a chance to do some really great things and put in infrastructure, both at AIO and then out at we're going to be able to put out in Union. But unfortunately, Harvard Pilgrim is now merging with Tufts. And so not only is that grant going away for us, but it's unsure of whether Tufts is going to pick up any funding for programs or not. So we're looking at models. We're actually talking to the Lincoln County Gleaners, and we're talking to Mary Meeting Gleaners to see how they're structured, who their fiscal agents are, and how we might move. We could stay right now we're with Penquist. We might stay there, but we're also looking at is that the best place for us, or should we be more involved with with like neighbors, with our food council and food pantries and whatever. So we have no plans yet, except for we're working on it.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Tom Rogers. I have a question for Jen. Great presentation. Thank you very much. And that applies to everyone this afternoon. Jen, I'm wondering if you could speak to, I guess, what you see as your greatest challenges and potential competitors in this space.
That's a great question. Every day brings new challenges. We either have too much fish or not enough fish, especially when dealing with a wild capture product, working with weather. It's just really unpredictable. And so I like to solve puzzles. Every day is another puzzle. So the challenges are numerous, but it's really fun. It keeps it interesting. As far as competitors go, I think there are different levels of competitors. First, fish, Americans don't eat enough seafood by far. And so, just to get that center of the plate protein spot, we're competing with chicken and beef and other, animal proteins. We do, of course, compete with the imported product. So we do Maine dayboat scallops, and yet Hokkaido scallops from Japan being flown, around the world still have that name and that repertoire that we're competing with. But as we grow our reputation and following, and also that consistent high quality that people can see from us. And our goal is to really become, like, for the Gulf of Maine, to become known as the source for the best quality seafood. And it takes time. Other examples of competitors would be people who are, or companies that are selling into high-end markets. So of course, you know, high-end chefs, Michelin star chefs, they're buying their fish from somebody already. So it's, you know, what's going to make them buy from us instead? And I think one thing that really makes us extraordinarily unique, where we have zero competition, is our focus on domestically local high-end seafood. There's no other company in the country that is working directly with fishermen on high-end handling practices and offering this suite of products at this level of quality. And so that's something that there is no competition for right now. And I should say, you know, we deal with every week. This week, for example, we brought in cod, haddock, hake, pollock, cusk, redfish, scallops, mussels, bugfish. I could go on. So we do have, that's another one of the challenges. We have a lot of diversity in our product offerings, but that also really sets us up well to meet the needs of various types of customers.
Thanks very much.
This is Lindsay. Joel, you have big competitors from out of state, and you know, as well as some in-state competition. And I'm just curious how you are making the case for your product to Maine brewers. You know, what niche are you filling?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think it's a question we're asking ourselves all the time. I mean, I do have answers though. So I mean, what makes us kind of different, or what we kind of focus on, is providing additional value to our customers beyond just a product. As with any small scale thing, when you're dealing with multinational industrial agriculture, you're never going to compete on price. So similar to what Jen was saying, is we've really competed on quality. Our products are produced in traditional methods that really align themselves better to the traditional beer styles that craft brewers and distillers are making, because a lot of those industrial malts are coming from other places. We add a lot more transparency to the supply chain, and I would say customer service and relationships. I've participated in a few kind of virtual meetings recently, and the idea of connections and relationships as being a primary driver is comes up over and over again. And the level of responsiveness and flexibility that we can show our customers, customer support, is far beyond what any large nationally distributed company is. And because of our location in Maine, you know, and actually in proximity to Boston, just in a region that has the majority of our customers, we are really on top of them. For example, literally 10 minutes before I got on this call, the head brewer at Allagash called and realized they had made a mistake ordering and had ordered the wrong malt from us, and they're brewing tomorrow. So we were able to, he was literally got on the road, and we were able to pull the new order for him. And he was able to pick it up, you know, 40 minutes ago. So, you know, our responsiveness and our ability. Now, I think that being said, we really are trying to understand how we can provide more value, and really try to understand better the value we're providing customers. So we're actually working with Bob Martin, who is sitting here on this call, to survey our customers and really dig down deep to try to understand what kind of value our customers are getting from us, and where there are gaps and where we can provide more value, because I don't think we're done providing value. We're not done providing the story. There's many obstacles, but I think we're proving that we can address them, and we haven't lost any or I should say like maybe one or two customers have changed their buying habits this past year, but because of the pandemic or because of higher costs that they're receiving. But mostly we saw the reduction in our revenues primarily because brewers weren't brewing. And as people are getting ready to reopen, we're really seeing demand pick up again, which just points out to us that we are at least providing a high quality product and customer service experience at the minimum, that people aren't switching away to other suppliers. We really just felt the reduction in beer. I'm going to finish there, but I mean, I'm happy to answer any very specific questions you have, Lindsay.
I have a question for Erica. I loved your talk, and I just wondered, how do you support what you do? I know you mentioned a couple of foundations, but that just isn't, I'm thinking that probably isn't enough. So and do you support yourselves through this effort? I just, what you're doing is wonderful. How do you afford to do it?
Thank you. Well, it's challenging. This will be our third season. To start, I had to put in my own personal savings, some of them, but now we are supporting ourselves through grants and donors. It's never enough, and it's also, super stressful because you don't know if who you're going to get for, if you're going to get the grant or what donors you're going to find. I've been working really hard on corporate sponsors. And the big thing I'm trying to do is create a sustainable revenue stream for the farm. So the flower CSA, we're starting very small, but we actually are sold out already with the amount that I want to sell. So that was kind of exciting. And merchandise and these supper clubs. But yeah, it's tricky and challenging. So I'm really hoping between the corporate sponsors, the donors, the grants, and then really the flowers, I always want to be able to donate lots of flowers, but the goal, we have enough space, I think, that we can donate flowers and grow flowers. And growing, a lot of people want us to sell our vegetables, but we're quite small. So that would go against our mission. I don't want to sell our vegetables. We want to feed people, but we definitely can donate flowers and create a revenue stream through the flowers. So we are not getting paid right now. The goal would be eventually to potentially my husband to get paid when he's farming. I'm on the board, so you can't get paid, but that's something to think about when you have a nonprofit. If you're the executive director, you can get paid, and if you're on the board, you cannot get paid. For now, my husband has a job, so for now we can survive, but it's definitely one of the biggest concerns is creating that revenue stream and getting the grants and finding more donors. So excellent question. And thank you for your kind words. Thank you so much.
Nick, this is Bonnie again. I'm curious to know what your markets and sales have looked like in the past. How many years? I'm not sure that you said how many years you've also been in business.
Well, we started the farm in 2015, selling chicken mostly, and eggs. We now have 400 hens, and we're, let's see, I'm not great with the numbers, honestly. We sell CSA model. So people buy 10 or 20 weeks or year-long egg CSAs from us, and I deliver to their door.
How many customers?
We have, let's see, it's growing pretty continually. We just picked up 3 more year-long egg CSA customers this week. Each week we're putting out through the CSA around 50 dozen eggs a week. And then we also sell to the Belfast Co-op, and we're going to be selling to the Rockland Co-op as well. That can't remember the name of it now, but
Good Turn.
Yeah, the Good Turn. And then last year we raised, was our first year selling lamb. and we sold out just before the pandemic started. We wanted to raise 25, and we did a tasting at Perennial Cider Bar like the week before the pandemic. And through that and our social media, we sold all 25 lamb that we were trying to raise. We raised a few extra for cuts, and we have sold most of those cuts. And then we have been selling out of chicken for the past few years, but this past year we decided, because we've been waiting, we do a pre-buy on chicken, but we did the pre-buy in the spring. It was still kind of challenging for planning purposes, because when you're raising chicken for processing, you have to book your butcher dates in like January. So it's like when you're booking your butcher dates in January, but you don't know how many you're going to pre-sell, it's kind of like taking a stab in the dark. So we decided to run our pre-buy in September and October, and we doubled what we had done last year. Well, we had pre-sold like 250 the year before, like in 2020. For 2021, we pre-sold like 340, 350, I can't remember. So we always raise twice as many as we pre-sell, so to account for any loss. So this year we're raising 750 meat birds, which they, because of the costs and trying to pay ourselves, we sell them for about $30 each. And we have a lot of returning customers because the flavor is a lot different than chicken you get at the grocery store.
Great, thanks.
I wanted to say to you, Nick, that I thought that was pretty amazing. Your pastures in December. I have like a tiny itty bitty flock of sheep, and we had no grass because of the drought and everything. And I've always wanted to do better with rotational grazing, but I think I need to have more land or less sheep for that. Might eat everything.
Well, are you familiar with holistic planned grazing?
A little. Well, I've read that there's one book that was about grass-fed farming or something like that I read way back in the day, but
so the way
love more information.
The way we manage our sheep is that our goal is for them just to take one bite of the plant. So we keep them in a very small place, but we give them enough space that everybody, has plenty to eat, but they're really just taking just the very top of the grass, and then we move them each day. And in the early spring, we're moving them twice a day.
Wow.
And so this allowed for just a much faster recovery. Yeah, I could go on, but I'll stop.
Yeah, that seems pretty labor intensive though, moving your sheep twice a day.
The payoffs were huge. We had the sheep were really well sized, and I would say that the enterprise was profitable. The more sheep we raised, the more profitable it would be. Basically, we figure we were making about $1 a day per sheep. So at 25 sheep, it's about $25 a day, and I would spend about an hour moving them each day. When we're moving them twice, it might have been 2 hours a day. So if we were raising more sheep, it would be obviously more profitable.
I actually have a question for my fellow panelists here. Like I mentioned, like organic is one of the biggest challenges. So getting organic grain is one of the biggest challenges I see. In each of your fields, I was wondering if like Veggies to Tables, was certified organic, or if there was any reason specifically, even if you're using organic, why you would or would not get certified. And I'm not super familiar with like wild caught fish or, like fishing, and whether it's even possible to get organic certified as part of that. So I don't know. I just like had some curious, and I mean, if anyone has any thoughts or has thought about getting organic, I would love to hear what those were or where you might be at.
Mine's super fast. There's no organic standard for seafood in the United States.
Hmm.
And I guess my answer would be we are totally organic, but since we're donating all our food, we are not certified organic, but we are fully organic. I just don't have the
Sure.
energy to pay the money and go through the hoops of getting certified.
And Nick, you're obviously permaculture. I heard that, but is organic something that you're doing?
So we practice what we call regenerative agriculture. And what I can say is that the difference between regenerative agriculture and organic agriculture, in my opinion, is that organic agriculture mostly is a list of things not to do. It's it's don't use pesticides, don't use herbicides, don't use commercial fertilizers. And there's a lot of assurances that you're not using those things, but there's no goal-orientedness of organic agriculture to build soil or increase biodiversity. I think our farm could be certified, our land could be certified as organic because we don't use any fertilizers or herbicides or pesticides. Our eggs cannot be certified organic because we with our compost collection, we feed our food or the food waste to the chickens. So that would prevent our eggs from being certified organic. We think that's actually kind of a shame because we think that using livestock to minimize the amount of food waste going in the landfill is actually a really important thing for society, for all of us to be considering. The cost of running commercial grade compost facilities, the cost to maintain the tractors and the land use, like where we're applying the food waste on the pasture with the chickens, and the chickens turn the food waste very quickly into chicken manure, which makes everything grow greener. Yeah, so the short answer is we're not really interested in it. We actually, there's a regenerative verification process that we're interested in, where we're, instead of certifying that we're not doing things, we want to verify that we are doing things, that we are building soil and increasing biodiversity.
Cool. That's very interesting.
May I respond to Barbara from the chat? Barbara, thank you so much for your compliment on our fish and your support of our business. That really means a lot, big time. Thank you. And it's similar to the question about organic certification. You asked about Monterey. Monterey Bay Aquarium has a fish watch or seafood watch program. It's actually not a certification, so they just review fisheries and farms around the world and indicate based on their standard whether those are good fisheries or farms. Their program doesn't include things like traceability or certification to the fishery or farm. So either the fish that we're sourcing is on their list or it's not. And I've worked with them in the past to help inform their reviews of our region's fish stocks. Similarly, the Marine Stewardship Council is a global certification, and you'll see the blue circle, and that is specific to fisheries, and you have to become part of the certified body in order to be able to use that label on your products. Just from Erica's comments, for example, it's similar in the sense that it's expensive, and there's a huge process behind getting that certification. And maybe even some politics behind it, which I won't go into, but we are not part of a certification body for Marine Stewardship Council. but my background running the Sustainable Seafood Program, I can tell you that at the Gulf of Maine Research Institute, I can tell you that we're very, very concerned with the sustainability of the seafood that we sell. So we definitely take a look at all of those factors. Thanks again, Barbara.
I just want to add something about the idea of moving sheep once every day. There was a Dr. Alan Williams. He has a video where he talks about when you move your livestock every day, the compound effect of that is that you end up growing 2.5 times more forage than if you move them once a week. And so that's like having 2.5 times more land. So if our livestock farmers in the state of Maine were moving their animals every day, it would be like having 2.5 times more agricultural land in the state.
We have time for a few more questions, so jump in. I know it's not as easy as in person, but we welcome all questions and comments to any of the presenters.
Joel, are any of your grain growers practicing organic no-till?
No. So they're not, primarily because up in Aroostook County where our grain is grown, the primary rotation crop is potatoes, which just in that process of potatoes, you have to turn over the earth. There has been some work done out west with they call it a perennial barley variety. It is, whether it's actually barley or not is maybe debatable depending on who you're talking to, but basically looking at a perennial grain crop, and whether there's an opportunity to like move over there and really look at creating a more sustainable system. But that work has definitely, it's very early on in the industry. And we haven't, primarily because of what our growers are growing in rotation, haven't been able to do that. I know I keep talking about organic, but it's not the organic grain. It's worth noting that at this moment, I can't source organic grain from Maine, and I'm not the only organic grain processor with this problem. There is, unless a farm is themselves processing organic grain, which there are several, there is not a lot of interest in growing organic grains because it is so hard, and the culture and infrastructure is not really there for it. So that's why I mentioned getting more involved with it. I actually hear and 100% agree with you, Nick, that organic is a list of things not to do, and it's not about what you do, we don't. I think the indirect effect of a lot of those things are practices that are at least less harmful than conventional, but certainly aren't going probably to the extent that regenerative farming is going in all cases. So it's a really interesting, organic. What we're seeing, and the reason that I see it as a big challenge for us, is that Allagash just released a national organic beer. We have another fairly large brewery from Vermont that has made a decision to go all organic. As these companies become more socially aware, organic is the better kind of product that they're trying to go for. And we're seeing demand, if we get that Vermont account, and are able to really lock it in, that will double our volume demand for organic this year. And I would love to be sourcing all of that from the state of Maine, but I can't. So it's a really it's why, I don't know, it's just a really complicated problem, and it's not just me. It's Aurora Mills up in, and then the Yoast Farms, which does an organic feed product. I mean, all of us, Maine Grains, were having to think of more regionally about our grains, which I don't think thinking regionally about agriculture is a bad thing at all. I know this group and certainly our company has been really focused on Maine, but we are a bioregion, and when we're supporting a more transparent, responsible supply chain, whether that's within the geographic borders of our state, or it's 5 miles on the other side of the border in New Brunswick, or if it's over in Vermont or New York, we're still supporting that transparent and more responsible supply chain. So
I
Hey,
want
Joel.
oh, go
Oh,
ahead.
sorry. No, you're probably more on topic than I am. Go ahead, Nick. I had a curious question.
Well, I wanted to say that there is, I think, is a study from the University of Idaho about no-till potatoes, and it does seem that you can do potatoes in a no-till fashion. And I could try to find the study again. I was trying to share it with one of the larger potato growers, organic potato growers, because I think I care deeply about reducing the amount of tillage in the state, and I think that tillage is a big problem. The amount of I don't see drought as a natural phenomenon, a naturally occurring phenomenon. I truly believe that drought is a result of our management of the land. And I think that tilling soil has a big role in the creation of drought. As far as the cost to grow grain, we're really hoping that our lamb enterprise and what we're doing here can kind of help reduce the cost of some of these things, because if folks can turn fertilization into a profit center instead of a cost, so if grain growers or vegetable growers can fertilize their fields through holistically managed lamb or beef or chicken and sell those products, then they would have less input costs into their their grain or whatever it is they're growing.
I don't disagree.
Nick, you likely know of Mark Fulford in Monroe, and
Yes.
and Mark is certainly very knowledgeable and supportive of no-till. Slow Money Maine Network worked with the Maine Grain Alliance to do a study, a pilot project with grains, and using appropriately scaled equipment to deal with pre and post harvest issues. But there are many challenges for Aroostook County growers, where the land base is the greatest, serves the greatest opportunity, but also has been the most poorly managed land over the years. So the focus for this pilot project was on post-harvest strategies for cleaning, drying, and storing grain, but there was clear awareness that the pre-harvest strategies were much needed. But as Joel referenced, there are deeply embedded cultural patterns and deeply embedded economic patterns that relate to those crops in the county particularly, that make the issue very complex. And going to no-till with people that have big tractor equipment needs a lot of adjustment there, and the mindsets. There are some people doing these projects and interested in doing what you're talking about and what Mark is passionate about on a scale. But when you get into the business that Joel is running, he no longer needs a small backyard operation. He needs a volume scale. He needs a scale of what Aroostook County farmers can do, but
Yeah.
the complexity of the issues makes it quite challenging. It may happen one day.
I'm supportive of it happening, but Bonnie, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's very culturally different up there. And just to give a sense of our size, to put it into something that maybe is more tangible or understandable. So we process, we're working up to 6 tons. So we process just over 5 tons now. That's just over 10,000 pounds of grain. And so, we're talking each production run we do, of which we can do over 50, over 100 a year, is 5 acres of grain, roughly speaking. So,
What the grain you use is comes off of about 5 acres.
every production run we do comes off about 5 acres. And even then, I mean, to give you the sense of the industry scale, which Lindsay, who's no longer with us, was talking about, the ag industry, 90+% of the world's malt is produced, despite the dozens of brands you might see, they're all produced by these international conglomerates, that there's probably only 5 companies worldwide, 5, 7, that are producing the vast majority of malted grains consumed by us. And, a small Midwestern malt house will produce our entire annual capacity of about 1 million pounds of raw grain. They'll process that in one production run, of which they might do 2 or 3 a day. So, even at the scale that seems pretty large for us and seems pretty large for farms, especially in southern Maine here, we're actually interestingly kind of too small to work with some of the Aroostook County grains. They don't want to be bothered with us. But we are, despite our seemingly large size, very small, and it makes it very hard to compete. I mean, our customers are paying premiums of anywhere from 50 to 200%, depending on the style of product they're buying. I mean, that comes down to the fact that we do pay our growers basically 50, at least 50 to 100% premiums over what they would get if they sold it into the market, to these foreign markets and as a commodity. But the scale is a challenge with grains.
I'm sorry, I have to interrupt. This conversation touches on a topic that could be a multi-day gathering with huge amounts of information and
I have
knowledge.
one last thing to add.
Okay, go ahead.
So we are living in a culture right now that's very much demonizing meat, and at the same time, putting organic agriculture on a pedestal. But what we don't understand is that organic agriculture can't survive without meat. Like, organic vegetable production needs the manure, and you can be an organic agriculture producer and use manure from confinement animal husbandry. So in essence, when you're buying organic vegetables, especially if they're from a far off place, you are definitely supporting confinement animal husbandry. But it doesn't have to be that way. We can do organic vegetables and support pasture-based animal husbandry. That's better for the animal and better for the earth and better for people. I mean, the reason why we're against animals, meat, is because of the environmental effects and the inhumane treatment. But we can't grow vegetables without, unless you're talking about using conventional, chemical fertilizers. We need manure to grow vegetables, to grow grains. So how do we do that? How do we get the manure where we want it in a humane, ecological way?
So Bonnie, I'm going to chime in real quick because this ties into one of the movies that we showed this winter. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with it, but it's called Kiss the Ground. And it really speaks to this issue of soil regeneration, and not in exactly the same way, but it talks about how if we focused on regenerating our soils, we could actually reverse climate change. And it may be the only thing that is actually going to do that. And if any of you haven't seen it, I highly recommend. I put the link in the chat and you can find it. So just wanted to add that in.
Great, thank you so much. Okay, I think we have to wind down to honor the time that we set for this gathering. It's obviously been an enlivening group, and glad that there have been topics of interest and inspiration for those of you who have chosen to come. And we hope that you continue, as the Slow Money Network has continued for 10 years, to make connections, even though it's a little more challenging through virtual formats. But use the chat and the connections and contact information that is included there, and reach out to each other as you can, certainly to the presenters, to learn more and to find ways of support that may not even have been discussed necessarily today, but it's the way things happen in a very dynamic way that we have experienced time and time again. And it's going to take all of us, in whatever ways we function in our communities, to bring these ideas to fruition and to enhance our communities and our local food system that we're going to increasingly need in healthful, shared ways. So I thank you all for being part of this and look forward to you continuing to be part of our network. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.